Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some more common sense. Welcome back to the Common Sense podcast right here in good old central Indiana, the mountainous plains of Indiana. We were just out for the Covered Bridge Festival yesterday with some friends, and as we were driving along, going to the town we were heading towards, just looking around, noticing how just flat everything is. So much of Indiana is flat land, but whether you live on a beach, whether you live in the mountains, whether you live in a desert, whether you live here in flat plains area like we do, we welcome you to the Common Sense podcast.
We do.
And we look forward to sharing some common sense with all of you. And we are very glad you join us. We are your hosts. I'm Steve Gale.
And I'm Mark Petty.
And Mark, we are ready to talk about something of interest to both of us. And I think will be of interest to a lot of our listeners.
I hope so. Chinese? Japanese?
Close.
Mandarese?
Almost, yes.
Americanese?
You're getting there. It's almost there. Try a few more.
Ease.
Ease, yes, that's right.
Let's go ease.
Something that's not really a officially recognized language,
yeah.
But
It's
some
not.
people refer to it as Christianese.
Yeah.
What we Christians sometimes do by talking in our own, you might say, coded language,
Right.
phrases, jargon, whatever you want to say, that has some roots in maybe biblical language. Maybe it's even within songs that we've all grown up with, hymns and things, or just things that we talk about at church, that amongst each other, we know what we're all saying, but to the outside world might not sound like it means much of anything.
Yeah, and it can be, as you mentioned earlier, I think it was the book you were reading,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you said the book you were reading. It could be kind of really weird if people didn't know. We're out in the middle. I grew up going to camp, and you went to probably some camps or church camps or something like that. And sometimes you get out in the middle of the woods. When we were out in the middle of the woods, and we'd have a campfire, and one of the songs that we used to sing is "Nothing But the Blood of Jesus."
That's right.
Now, some person that had no clue anything about Jesus or anything about that came upon that singing. It probably would think, what in the world are they talking about?
Right, exactly.
Are they really? It would sound like a live sacrifice. Or,
I
don't know. It could be. I think that's interesting. That's a great. The guy that wrote that book, whoever it was, it's a great point.
Yeah,
it is. It could be scary.
Well, you think about the words in that song, that old hymn, and you're talking about, having your sins washed as white as snow in the blood of Jesus. If you just try to picture yourself as an outsider, and you think of blood stains, and you're automatically going to think, what are these people saying? Washing something with blood? It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're a Christian, you're probably thinking, well, everybody knows. I don't think so.
No.
Maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago, people may have known. But in today's generation, there's people that have never heard of the story of David and Goliath.
Right.
Or, Noah or whatever. So I think, in the world that we're living in today, we've got to be careful with that. Not careful. I guess I shouldn't say careful. But if we really want to tell people about Jesus and who Jesus is and let them hear about Jesus, I think we should be careful about how we speak that.
Right.
And make it in a language that maybe they understand a little bit better.
Yeah, I think one way we could look at it too is how many times have we gone to a doctor and you have to please ask the doctor, please, can you tell me that in plain English?
Right.
Because they start using the medical jargon and it's over our heads. Or another example of that is people who work in the IT world, the technology world.
Yeah.
I've had that happen at work. And they start telling me to, do this, that, or the other. I don't know what they're talking about. They might as well have been telling me in Portuguese.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to me. So I think we all can fall into that trap in so many areas of our life. And Christianity, I think, is one of them, that you have to be able to learn to speak to the audience that you're speaking to in the way they understand.
I think that's the key, is understand your audience.
Right.
Is what I would say about that. Is, I can't say things if I'm speaking to people that have never heard. And again, in this generation that we're living in today, more and more people do not know the word.
Right.
Do not know anything about the Bible. Do not know those things. So
a lot of Christians don't know sometimes.
That's the truth right there, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But and it's just the way it is. And so, you think about that, and I was sharing a little bit earlier, if I'm dealing or talking with someone that's an atheist, I don't know that I don't immediately bring the Bible into the conversation.
Right.
And people say, well, that's wrong. And I'm like, well, they don't recognize the Bible.
Right.
They don't even recognize God.
Right.
Supposedly.
Exactly.
So why would they think of anything in that Bible is worthy to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're probably going to get some critics that say, well, you got to use the Bible. Mm. And I'm like, well, I think there's a way you can use the Bible in everyday language and not use the Bible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that sounds kind of weird, but there's a way that you can talk today and use words today, justification, sanctification, some of those big kind of words out there that you speak that to somebody that's never heard of the Bible. They're like, what?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah, exactly.
Righteousness. What? So I think we've got to bring those terms to things that they can understand and relate to in today's world a little bit.
I think a good example of that would be Paul when he traveled to the Greek capital of Athens and talked to a lot of the people there in their places in Athens. He talked to them in such a way, and this is, by the way, I think in Acts chapter 17, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he talked to them in such a way that they could relate to what he was saying.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't sharing scripture with them, but he was sharing truth with them.
Definitely.
And in a way that they could comprehend what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that they still, agreed with him or anything.
Yeah.
But at least they were able to understand what his argument was.
Yeah. And he even went in that same book. He even went and said, that one God that you all worship, in the middle of the circle, basically the unknown God.
Yep.
So he used what they had right there in their community.
Right.
Is what he did. And I mean, when you think about it, isn't that kind of what Jesus did a little bit?
Yep.
I mean, he used things, the faith of a mustard seed.
Right. Yeah. Or he would talk to fishermen using fishing terms.
Right.
And things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he did that a lot. Though there is one part was thinking about one particular episode in the life of Jesus where maybe he didn't do that. And I'm thinking in John's gospel where he talked about eating his flesh.
Yeah.
If you recall that.
Yep.
And it's like that drove some people away because they were thinking, whoa, what is going on here? What are we talking about? Yeah. And I sometimes read that and think that some of when he would do something like that, it might have been on purpose to see, maybe to kind of wean out the ones who were really truly following me because they want to know God versus those who are just wanting to see magic tricks or something like that.
Right. And, they love to see his miracle. I mean, people love his miracles. There's no question about that. I mean, they love to see.
And that's what I mean by magic tricks. Yeah. Obviously, they want magic tricks.
But they love to see that stuff. And that's why, I mean, obviously, if you read his gospels, people followed him around. Crowds followed him around.
Oh, yeah.
Big crowds.
Yes.
But when it came time for the end,
Mhm.
there was a big crowd there. There's about 120,
Yeah. Yes.
compared to 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000,
Yeah.
whatever he was teaching to. But only 120 or so
Mhm.
kind of hung around at the end.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think that's the thing. And so what are some examples that you could think of maybe?
Pulled up a few.
Oh, good, because I didn't do any research here. So.
I just did this real quick. So
good.
Here are some examples, just a
Okay,
handful
cool.
of some Christianese terms,
Okay,
phrases, something.
All right.
The word fellowship.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people might know what that means, but not necessarily.
Right.
So if you go up to somebody who's totally a stranger to the Christian environment and you say, I'm going to go have some fellowship.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to think of that?
Yeah, well, fried chicken and green beans. I don't know.
Maybe. And that could be the fellowship you're going to have.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Some people don't, and so let's just stay with that word for a minute.
Okay.
Fellowship.
Yeah.
You're going and you're at the gas station, and somehow God comes up, and you say, "Hey, I want to invite you down to my fellowship." To the gas station attendant. And again, maybe he or she has never been around the gospel. Maybe they're, whatever, different nationality, never really
Never been to church
or anything like that. What does that say to that person? We say, come on down to my fellowship.
Right. I
And,
would imagine a lot of them would say, "You're what?"
Okay. Yep.
I don't know what you're saying. What does that mean? Some might be able to understand that, though. Fellowship, friendship kind of sounds similar with each other.
Yeah. So, taking that word out again, what would we do? How would we get around using fellowship?
How about just hanging out together?
Okay. All right.
That might be one thing to say, because in essence, that's what we Christians are doing when we are sharing fellowship together. We are hanging out together and doing something similar, a type of activity. And it could be like you're suggesting, like a potluck meal or anything like that.
Yeah, and
you're just inviting somebody.
Right, you're just inviting them to come and talk, basically. Hey, just come on down and hang out with us. Get to know us.
Right.
It's just one of those things. Get to know who we are. And
yeah, exactly.
And things like that. And, that may be, and again, a lot of our listeners are believers, and they're probably like, you guys are being stupid. Common sense, everybody knows what fellowship is.
Yeah.
I don't think Christian fellowship, people understand. It's fellowship maybe.
Yeah.
But we're inviting them to Christian fellowship most of the time, which that's a little bit different sometimes than coming and having a fried chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Fellowship.
Yeah.
We want them. We're saying, hey, come to our church and sit there and listen for an hour and don't talk, and you're going to get up and sing a few times, or or you're going to come to our fellowship Bible study. We're going to open up the Word of God and we're going to talk for When they walk into that situation, they're going to be like, "This is not the fellowship I thought I was doing. I'm thinking fried chicken."
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So,
and that's the thing. Fellowship, even in the Christian type of fellowship, can take different paths. It could mean going to a church service. It could mean a Bible study, like you're talking about. It could mean just getting together for a meal.
Yeah, and so the key is to be clear.
Yes,
that's the common sense thing is, let's be clear on what we're inviting them to.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, we're not saying don't go up and invite somebody to church.
Right.
Well, church, most people do know what church is. I would say that, so if you're going to invite them to church, say church is what I would say instead of fellowship.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, because again, fellowship has, and really, if you go into the biblical, if we really want to go into the biblical meaning of that word, it's a word called koinonia, which is a deep fellowship.
Yeah.
It's like we're coming together at intimate fellowship is actually kind of what that means a little bit. So, that's kind of you hear people say, if people think that, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's totally different.
Yeah. Yep. Here's another one. Quiet time.
Go to bed.
That's right. Exactly.
Right? I mean, isn't that what that means? Go to bed.
Not the way most Christians usually mean it. No.
It's not.
No.
I just want to be quiet and shut up and, go to bed and sleep.
Yeah. Most of them, of course, when they refer to quiet time,
okay,
are referring to time in which they are in prayer with God,
okay,
or maybe even time in which they are just reading or studying the Bible.
Okay.
Things of that nature, like that. That's what most people would mean by that, because it's time in which they're trying to just separate themselves from the noise of the world around them and have time which they can focus on those types of activities.
Right. And again, if people were talking quiet time, the world may look at it and say, well, he's just going to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Right.
That's what the world would say. So again, be clear in what you're wanting to have happen. This is my time with my God.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that just as easy as saying quiet time?
Sure.
I mean, and they know exactly what you're doing. You're using God in it, so there's nothing wrong with using God. And that's the thing. We're not saying, I don't think we're saying, I'm not saying, at least we can't mention God.
Oh, no.
I mean, so we can use God because I think it's, I don't know the last percentage. There's less than 15% of the world, or at least here in America, is atheist that doesn't believe in God. So, I mean, 85% of the people, probably 90% of the people, when you say God, even atheists know what you mean when you mean God. I think. I mean, they might not recognize God, but if I say, hey, I'm going to have time with God, I think everybody kind of recognizes what that is. And that can be across any religion. I mean, because every religion is different, but I think almost every religion has that quiet time with their higher being, is what some people would call it, maybe, instead of a God.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are pretty good ones there. I think, I don't have my list in front of me.
Oh,
so
that's fine. Go for it.
But I think saved.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yep. Now, if you were a sports fan, you might hear that and think, ooh, he must have a good relief pitcher on his pitching staff. He's going to come in and save the game for the team, right?
Okay. I mean, we go out and again, we've heard a lot of Christians say, you must be saved.
Right. Yeah.
What are you saved?
Saved from what?
What are you saving me from?
Right.
Exactly. Am I drowning?
Yeah.
Am I on a shipwreck? Is my car broke down? I mean, you can just add all kinds of things into that. And so I think that's one that I definitely, especially in the world today. Again, some of these maybe 40 years ago, people understood maybe what saved was. 50 years ago. I don't even know, 40 years ago. But in today's world, when you say the word saved, you got to be saved.
Yes.
I think that's the first response. Well, what are you saving me from? I'm not in too bad a shape. I'm okay. I'm not shipwrecked. I'm not drowning. I'm not this and I'm not that, or whatever it is. So I think, saved. Am I dying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think even part of that comes into this situation. So instead of saved, what do you recommend?
Now, there could be a variety of different things. You could just simply start talking about, knowing who God is.
Okay.
And knowing what the situation might be that would lead to something like needing to be saved.
Yeah. Yeah.
But doing so on more of a layman's terms.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And definitely got to do it in a way that the world understands. What are you saving me from? So common sense says, how am I going to frame that?
Yeah.
To say, so they understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what we're trying to help out with here today, and be careful of that, because I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of one of those things. Have we Christianized everything to make the Christian feel like we're better than ever. I mean, I hate to say that sometimes, but I feel like, we come away with, we can't fellowship with the world because we have to have a Christian bookstore.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to have a Christian
used
bookstore.
to. I don't know of any anymore.
I don't know of anymore, but there used to be tons of Christian bookstores around.
Oh,
or things like that. And it's like, well, just go to Barnes and Noble. Well, no, you can now at least. Are they still open? They're still open, right?
Barnes and Noble is,
okay.
Yes. But not your Bereans, Tree of Life, Family Christian bookstore. Yeah,
they're all,
none of those are around anymore.
They're all gone. And and obviously I know people say, well, I need my feed, I need my stuff. What I found out is, and this is what I believe, and I think one of the things that maybe has changed some of this, and then we'll get back into these topics. Sorry, I'm going off the trail here, but that's all right. I don't care.
You can go for it.
What I've discovered is this: when Christians do things the right way, in a way that connects with the world, it will be okay. And I think probably maybe the biggest change in all of this whole Christian this, Christian that, may have been the Passion of Christ movie. Before, Christians would never go to movie theaters.
Right.
I mean, it was very rare. And then Passion of Christ came out, and if I'm not mistaken, it became like one of the top movies in every theater.
Yeah.
And so they kept it running and kept it running and kept it running. But when you do things the right way, we don't have to have our special own little niche.
Right.
We can, Christianity should be leading the world, not following.
Or trying to even separate itself from the rest of the world and have its own type of culture.
Right.
And that's to me is also dangerous too, because if you do that, then what kind of impact will you even have on the rest of the world?
Exactly. I think it was Amy Grant used to sing a song. Oh, I'd love to fellowship on the top of the mountain with the Lord, but who would come to the valley below to let the people know about the Lord?
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was a great. Those new lyrics are not exact, but that's the gist of what she sang.
Yeah.
And she took a lot of heat.
I bet.
Because Amy Grant probably in Christian circles, because we had Christian music.
Right.
Totally different than anything.
Oh, yeah.
And she started to cross over and do, her songs began to play on secular radio. And man, you thought she was the devil all of a sudden because she tried to do that kind of stuff.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, and it is sad. And I've just recently, I think one of the things that I've heard about is Brandon Lake. He just did a hard fought hallelujah with Jelly Roll.
Oh, okay.
And Jelly Roll is not. People would look at him and say, "Well, he's not a Christian." But they came together and they collaborated, and it's a way that. And Brandon Lake says, "Hey, I'm just trying to open doors to share the Lord."
Yeah.
And so we can do those things.
Sure.
Sorry, totally off.
No, that's fine. So, go along with the word saved. Here's one I've heard an awful lot. Over the years. Inviting Jesus into your heart.
Okay.
Now, I can only imagine what kind of thoughts maybe that would go through a uninitiated person's. What does that mean? Invite him into my heart?
Even a kid.
How can a person be in my heart? That kind of thing.
A kid. I mean, you think about a 12-year-old kid. You're saying, invite Jesus into your heart.
Sure.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
What? Yep. I don't know what.
And that is a phrase that we oftentimes use that is connected to the idea of being saved.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or another one that's kind of similar to it, I think, is putting God on your throne, or something along that line. I think both of those can be phrases that we who are Christians and have been Christians for a long time, we understand exactly what that means.
It's easy for us because we've been there.
Right.
We know it, and we're in the Word. I mean, hopefully we're in the Word. We understand those meanings and that kind of stuff. But for people that are not in the Word, not in the church, out there, and I would say not even on the fringe, but out there just doing their own thing, that they don't get that.
No. No.
They're just not going to get that stuff.
No.
And again, well, that means I have to rip open my heart, and I mean, it's kind of
How
like
does something or someone get into
happen?
my heart?
How does something like that happen? And things like that. So
now, if you talked about it, like, especially you're talking about a younger person, depending on how old they are, if young people have already kind of experienced early feelings of love towards another person, you might be able to kind of explain that in the sense of, well, how that girl or that boy that you really like is kind of like in your heart. You really become a part of something that you think a lot about, and and you're really devoted towards them or something. Then you can maybe start to make those connections.
Yeah, but again, sometimes it takes just we've got to. And I hate to say this because I know some people are going to get mad at me. Sometimes we got to just bring it down or dumb it down to a level where the average person can understand what we're trying to share. Again, that's not taken away from the truth of the Bible. I don't want people to think we're trying to.
No, not at all. It's just a different way of expressing that truth.
Right. And again, we think about Jesus and some of the stories that he told, and in that day, they understood his stories a lot of times. We wouldn't understand those stories today because we're not, in that same period. So what can we use in today's world to teach those type things?
Exactly.
Is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
you got another one?
Go ahead. I don't have any more off the top of my head. I didn't think about it. You can tell we didn't really prepare for
that. Here's another one I thought about. I've heard people talk about this too. Going into your prayer closet.
Oh, yeah.
A prayer closet? You've got a closet at home that you go inside and pray?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some people really do that, physically do that. But I don't think most people do. So what do people mean by that? Christians mean by that when they say, go into your prayer closet?
I think it's that whole thing again of where it's me and God talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, the point of that is I don't want the distractions around. So hopefully you're not going to get distracted in your closet.
Might get a little claustrophobic.
Exactly. And so it's that time away where I'm just going to talk to my God.
Yeah.
I'm just going to communicate with him. I'm going to be with him. And does it have to be a closet? No, it could be anywhere. It could be a car.
Right.
It could be, anywhere. And that's the thing. It's just, I want to be open and honest with communicating to God. And kind of along that same, again, I hope I don't offend anybody with some of the stuff that I'm saying. But if I do, I'm sorry, and you'll get over it. That's what I say to church all the time when I preach. So, but there are some times that you go to a certain service or a recognition type thing, and you get somebody up there and they pray for like 25 minutes. Or they throw out, "Oh, holy, most high, most," and our reverent, and people in the crowd, you see them start to look up like, what's he talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
And so again, can I just, because I think some people say, if I got to talk like that, I don't want to have any part of that.
Right.
And that's where I've always tried to tell young people, man, just share what's on your, when I was a youth pastor, I used to tell my kids, just share what's on your heart. You don't have to have fancy words. You don't have to have a 30-minute prayer. Just tell him what's on your heart. And sometimes that's why I love kids. Can you pray for my dog?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember in our days back when we taught at the Christian school, got that quite a bit from students.
Right. Pray for my cat.
Exactly.
And that's okay. Some people say, well, that's sacrilegious. No, it's not, man. That's people being honest with what they want to pray for.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be. It doesn't have to be most high, holy, all knowing, all everything, omniscient, omnipresent, all those omnis.
Or praying in the old English form, like the King James type language, And not that there's anything wrong with praying in that way. But again, you have to take your audience into account, right?
Yeah.
And if you start talking or praying in that fashion amongst people that you're trying to convince them of their need for, having Jesus in their life, then it's not maybe going to be as successful if you start talking about it in that way.
Right. There's nobody that, and today you don't go to a restaurant and speak in old King James.
No.
And so as you're in and dealing with the world that you live in today, common sense says, I got to use the language of today.
Right. Yep.
And I think that's the key. When we bring this down, what word, can I use in today's language that, again, there's always going to be that intellectual group that's going to understand that word. But 90% of the people that you're talking to are not that level.
No.
So what word or what phrase or what meaning can I do to bring it down to the level where they're at right now?
Yeah.
I think that's the key. And we just got to be careful with the whole, I don't know, I call it the Christian, I hate to say Christian culture, but it's almost become like a Christian thing. It's, we don't want to allow people in almost.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost a way to make us an exclusive group.
Right. And that is not the purpose of Christianity.
No, not at all.
I mean, that is that if that's what you're thinking, man, if people are thinking that is not. Jesus said, I have come that all men and all women might be saved.
Right.
Not just the ones who understand what I'm speaking about today.
Yeah,
all,
that's right.
All means all, and that's all meaning.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so understand that. And so I think that's the key. His desire was to bring everybody into a saving knowledge of him.
Yep. Yep.
And so what does that knowledge mean? And what does that saving thing mean? So I need to explain that to the culture that I'm in today.
That's right. Exactly.
And we're all different cultures.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but there were two other terms I was hoping that we'd be able to kind of talk about.
Okay.
Justification and sanctification.
Oh,
you mentioned those before we even got on the air here.
Yeah.
And those are a couple of terms that get used a lot, the theological terms.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I, of course, have read those terms many, many, many times through many, many different books and so on. Those are a couple of the type of words that you could consider to be part of Christianese, the Christian type of language that wouldn't mean a whole lot to most people.
Right. It's like justification.
Yeah. What is justification?
What does that mean? And again, some people are saying, well, you just break the word down, and stuff like that. And it doesn't work in every society today to break it all down.
And let's face it, some of this stuff it's not going to be so simple as to, okay, I just need to change a few words. And now it's going to make perfect sense to most people.
Right.
It probably still won't. You might still need to take your time.
Exactly.
And have to have a conversation with somebody.
And again, that's where I say it's important that we have a relationship with people, because then we understand where people are coming from.
That's right.
And help them to get to where they need to get when it comes to Christ.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing, I think, to get there. So we have run out of time. We've gone over the time. Our buzzer was going off. Beep, 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 beep. But it's great. Again, we would love to have you share your thoughts with us. You can go to our YouTube channel. That's probably the best place to see us and comment and all that kind of stuff. And that's Commonsense Podcast, basically at YouTube, right? Commonsense.cafepodcast. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah. We used to have these written down, and we've changed kind of locations, and I've lost them.
Yeah, we need to get that back, don't we?
But I know you can go to hear us. You can go to Amazon, to Apple, to Spotify. Do a search on Common Sense Podcast and Mark Petty or Steve Gale, and we'll come up there.
And YouTube, by the way, is Commonsense.cafepodcast.
Okay. And our webpage, or I guess it is our webpage, our website, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Commonsense.cafe. That's a great place to look at us and find us in all of those places. So again, we'd love to hear you. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to share with us your thoughts and the topics that you want to hear about. because we want to bring common sense to whatever you're struggling with. That's our desire.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining us today. You guys have a great week. And share us.
Definitely. Have a good one.